everybody. Welcome to a new and exciting episode of the IDAVOX Report. I'm Daryle Jenkins, and I am the founder and executive director of One People's Project, an anti-racist organization that's dedicated to making the lives of Nazis everywhere miserable. I'm going to talk about last week also being the 5th anniversary of Charlottesville. There's a lot to talk about there. A lot to talk about. Me and Beth were both there, and it was
I want to hear actually Beth's experience, because I know we've talked about Charlottesville. It was a while ago now, 5 years ago. It seems like yesterday, really. But I know, we've recounted Daryle, and he was here, and part of the film that he made featured scenes from him. But Beth, I haven't heard much about your experience. So, I mean, I'd like to hear, why did you go there in the first place? What did you expect? And what were you prepared for, prior to going there? How did that start?
I was the director of the Mercy Junction Justice and Peace Center at that time. And Mercy Junction Justice and Peace Center was a Presbyterian social justice center in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And we were committed to anti-racism, just a spectrum of social justice issues. And Congregate Charlottesville put out the call for people of faith to come and join them in being a presence in the city that day. And Congregate Charlottesville was made up of congregations, religious communities, congregations in Charlottesville who wanted to have a response in their community from people of faith. So we put together, I went from Mercy Junction, two of our elders went, I believe. Yeah, it was me and two of our elders who went down to Charlottesville, and we got there. I've been to so many protests, and I should have known better, but I thought it was just the same old, we're going to go and stand and, block the scene a little bit, that kind of thing. We got there 2 days early. Congregate Charlottesville kind of got the sense immediately that they thought it was something different, because you were having to show government issued ID to get into the training. They were being very, very careful about how they let into training. They did 2 days of training, physical training, like how to roll if you're getting kicked, that kind of thing. Some spiritual services in there. And I believe by the time we got ready to go out on that morning, the morning of August 12th, we were routinely told, this is going to be dangerous. This is going to be dangerous. Still, it wasn't sinking in. The action we had planned is we were going to block the white supremacists from taking the park as people of faith. Everybody was in stoles or religious vestments. And there was just a real spectrum of people of different faiths represented. We had linked arms. We had trained for this, and they're running towards us. And it was actually Dr. West who said, as they got closer and closer, this is a bad idea, this is a bad idea, this is a bad idea. And he asked people at that last second to step back, let them through, that they were going to kill us. And I think they might have. Luckily, Antifa, there was a big Antifa presence, and they took them on as the people of faith got out of there. Later in the day, we were in a place where we were supposed to be able to rest, and we were sitting there, and someone comes running in, and she says, "There's bodies in the street. There's bodies in the street. We need the clergy." And I think we ran maybe 3 or 4 blocks from where we had been just taking a rest down to where the murder had happened, where Heather Heyer was murdered and other people were injured. Local clergy rushed in to offer aid and assistance to people, knowing some of the people who'd been injured. Reverend Sekou had those of us who were not local to form human barricades to stop activity so the emergency vehicles could get in. And I remember standing there was some guy with like a big gun. I don't know anything really about guns. He was like an oath keeper or something. And he's standing there arguing with us while there are, literally bodies in the street. So that was my experience. The Congregate Charlottesville people were amazing. And I think they're continuing to do the work there in Charlottesville today.
And how long did you stay in Charlottesville after? Was you there for a couple of days?
We were. Let's see. Was that on a Friday that it happened, or Saturday?
No, it was a Saturday.
We didn't go.
Torch March.
Okay, that's right. Friday night was the Torch March. We got into so I think we got into town like on Wednesday because we were there with the Congregate Charlottesville folks for 2 days for training, and I believe it was Monday morning when we went home because I know we went to services with them on Sunday morning. Our people just felt like they needed that time to process and be with other people who had had a similar experience. So I don't think we drove home till Monday morning.
There was 2 rallies in Charlottesville prior. So so they was really trying to cause some grief in Charlottesville in May, in July, and then August happened. And the whole time they was talking about how they was going to kick everybody's ass and just cause all kinds of grief to anybody that stands in the way. Matter of fact, they made it clear that they was going down there to cause grief to Charlottesville just because they wanted to take statues of Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson down. And matter of fact, one of the things that got Richard Spencer, then the executive director of the National Policy Institute, in trouble in the eventual lawsuit was the fact that he said at the American Renaissance Conference that Charlottesville was going to be particular, that they was going to make things particularly traumatic for the liberals in Charlottesville. So we looked at all the ginning up of all of this, and during our podcast, we said, this is going to be their Altamont. In other words, if anybody remembers Altamont in the 60s, that was the time when all that summer of love just came to a crashing halt. Well, the reason why we called it their Altamont, it was going to be the year of the alt-right, so-called alt-right, was going to come to a grinding halt. And that's exactly what happened. We predicted that it was going to happen. We said that it was going to be a turning point. My partner, Laura, she said that straight up somebody was probably going to die at this thing.
It was a pretty crazy scene, and I don't want to say that we're fortunate because it was a tragedy, the murder of Heather Heyer and all that, but we are a little fortunate in that it wasn't dozens of people shot dead because there was that potential there, and I think that potential. But yeah, I think that we met when you were promoting the movie Alt-Right: Age of Rage.
Yeah, I got to get to that. We did
some events, and I wanted to make sure that people, if you haven't seen it, it's a movie that over time has gotten better because I think it showed us the future. It was a precursor to January 6th and all that. And I think right now, if you're listening to this or if you're seeing this video and you haven't had a chance yet, Daryle can tell you how you can watch it because I can't remember how to link to it, but I'll provide that later. But we certainly want to remind people that this movie it's a really important film, and it's becoming more important as time goes on. So please watch it and promote it because I'd love to see it get another boost.
Well, the director, Adam Balalow, he made it available on his Vimeo account. You can watch it for free there. I believe it's also on the Peacock Network. It was on for a very long time on Netflix, but it's not there anymore. Who knows? Maybe HBO or Showtime will pick it up. I mean, maybe they'll do that.
I've often wondered if you put out the call too. That was really part of the reason I answered the call from Congregate Charlottesville. What would they have done that day? They occupied that city. What would they have done in that city on August 12th if Antifa had not been there to counter them? Because the police did nothing. The police literally stood behind plastic barricades. The only people defending Charlottesville and the residents of Charlottesville were Antifa. What would have happened if you hadn't put the call out?
They would have killed people. They would have killed more people. I'm serious. I mean, they would have attacked a whole bunch of people, and we know that because that's what they did on July 8th of that year when they were just attacking people when they were protesting. And bear in mind, and you know what else? There would have been more rallies.
Yeah,
just kept on rallying and causing so much drama to Charlottesville that who knows what would have happened. Who knows what would have happened? Nothing probably would have happened on August 12th, but it could have happened as we kept on going down the line. That's what I think would have happened. But I think that's why we all said enough was enough. And they was telling us this in the lead up to, case in point, Richard Spencer again, online. That's why Unicorn Ride has all those transcripts from chats that they had prior to. So we all, I don't want to just put it on me, but we all said, get your ass to Charlottesville. We got to stop this nonsense. We was coming from all over the place. Redneck Revolt was all over the place. Mercy Junction was all over the place. It's just like the Atlanta anti-fascists were there.
They were doing this to Charlottesville is because Charlottesville as a community made the decision, we don't want the Confederate propaganda in our community anymore. We want reparations. We want to provide reparations for what happened. It was a community decision, and these white supremacists from out of town came in to tell the people of Charlottesville what they could and could not do.
Yeah, my wife is a UVA alum. Her father, her brother, her cousins, her uncles, like my wife's family. Like I got the UVA. Look, we got the basketball champion ball right there, right? My wife very much is a white liberal, and her heart was broken when she saw what was happening in Charlottesville. And she is very proud as a UVA alum. She's proud of the college, and she's proud of the steps that the university has taken to address the enslaved community there. They have taken a lot of steps to address that, to address Thomas Jefferson's faults, which are very good. And, you know, anytime you see change like that, it's going to threaten these traditionalists, as they like to call themselves, which we all know is code word for white supremacy and violence and patriarchy.
Hell,
but they did traumatize.
Yeah, they did. Right. Yeah, when you say they tried to call themselves, I just remember Matthew Heimbach's group was the Traditionalist Workers Party. But yeah. I'm going to wrap it up right quick because, well, maybe not right quick, but like I said, it was a case of the production crew was completely done. They was already doing editing, and it was really frustrating because they really wanted to get some B-roll, but they think they had all they needed. They wanted to get more B-roll, more action. So I said, look, I know you say you have it done, but there's this thing that's happening in Charlottesville in a couple of weeks. I say have some people there. You go. It's going to be what you're looking for. And they brought a crew, and I worked with them, and they had a crew. It wasn't Adam and all them, but it was a crew that was able to come out. And after everything went down, it changed the entire scope of the documentary. It went from talking about Trump to Trump just being in it for about 10 minutes, maybe even 5. And that's why alt-right Age of Rage has such an impact now. And like I said, I've talked a lot about what I was doing and how I was doing over the past couple of years. There's this video of me. There's this guy named who called himself Asmodor. He was part of the Daily Stormer crew. Okay. And he made a mistake that very few make. He called me the N-word to my face.
Is that in Charlottesville?
To my face. But I said, and it's funny too, because I played it cool, but not cool enough. Because I was busting his chops. I was over there busting their chops because they went into the wrong area and all that. And I told him they went into the wrong area. You got to turn around, asshole. And he called me a fat N-word. And I smacked him in the back of his head. So he turned around. I really hate this. This is just such a punk ass routine that I haven't heard since I was a child. Where they turn around to the cops and say, he hit me.
Yeah, but I mean, but like, yeah.
Oh, no. Let me finish. Because it got funnier. Because when he turned around after I took that, I gave him that little love tap, and there, and everybody was getting ready to play. I just went straight to the handgun. I said, make a move. Just make a move. And then Amador, and I told the cops, no, I don't know what he's about to do. He got too close to my face, and then when he decided he was going to play, I decided to give him a little love tap. Cops didn't do shit, but then again, the cops weren't doing shit, so that's what helped. And then Amador says something about how we're going to see each other again, and it's like, ironically, you never saw him again because he's now fleeing, he's hiding, he's a fugitive. You don't see him anymore because he doesn't want to be seen anymore. They're looking for him. So
one thing, go ahead there.
Yeah, no. I was going to say Charlottesville is just what makes Charlottesville so bad is that it wasn't the end, because then all those groups started to rebrand. All the groups that started Charlottesville started to rebrand. And so you see the Traditionalist Workers' Party, they pretty much fell apart. The National Socialist Movement is really considered to be a joke right now. And the leader, Jeff Scoop is now trying to pass himself off as an anti-racist that goes after Antifa. Never mind the fact that we still see him connected to his old group. Matthew Heimbach is still trying to claw his way back up after an embarrassing thing with his stepmother rather. You have
I heard about that.
Gone. I mean, he's not involved anymore.
No, Richard Spencer, we talked about this. He's on dating websites posing as a moderate now.
Yeah, but
because women don't want anything to do with him. So
yeah, but that's as good as it gets. Yeah, that's as good as it gets. You have Identity Europa had to rebrand. The leaders at the time are gone. They had to rebrand to the American Identity Movement. Then they disappeared. And now you just have the Groyper movement. There was members of the Groypers in Charlottesville. You had American Vanguard who broke away. Members broke away from American Vanguard after Charlottesville, and now they're Patriot Front. And you see Thomas Rousseau, who was arrested up in June up in Idaho, the leader of Patriot Front, organizing people for American Vanguard to, like as in everybody get along this line here, and everybody just basically placing people, including James Fields. There's video of that. And it just shows you that it was, and most importantly, you have Enrique Tarrio. Who was of the Alt Knights or whatever, which is like the chapter of the more violent Proud Boys. Well, I guess they merged because now he was the head of the Proud Boys in January 6th. And ever since Charlottesville, they became the primary people that we had to deal with. So it's just like what happened in Charlottesville. Well, I'll be careful to say it was the beginning of everything because it really wasn't. I mean, I think that all that happened as of 2015 when we was fighting back against all the Nazis that were attacking people at Trump rallies. But it really, really did pick up. You went from Charlottesville to all the things that were happening in Portland with the Proud Boys and Patriot Prayer to what we saw in January 6th. And we're still seeing things. You know what? I'm not even going to skip over what happened during the summer of 2020 when it was our turn. When we started going out there and say, hey, we're going to kick a little ass too. Of course, that's how we got Kyle Rittenhouse, but he was an anomaly, So, but it's been a crazy time, and I guess I would say that a lot of it was due to Charlottesville helping people to understand how bad these characters are and that you have to do something about them. I mean, still a few more lessons to be learned because we kind of like fell off, but let's see what happens because I know we got some other things we need to talk about that speak to that.
I mean, just the liberal politics of non-intervention, trying to ignore white supremacy, it doesn't work. It does not work. And we have to keep saying that on this show. It does not work. These people need to be confronted. They need to be exposed, and they need to be rooted out.
If people had taken that advice of just stay home and ignore them that day, I think Daryl's right. I think more people would have been killed. And I just started thinking after we were talking about the 3 people who died, there were actually, I know of at least 2 others who died afterwards, and people who were left with permanent injuries that are going to affect their lives. So the toll was a lot greater than just those 3. But when you talk about Charlottesville, a shifting point, or whatever we call it, that was the first protest I'd been to where I saw people openly carrying big guns around. That was a big shift for me. I'd never experienced that before. And now you'd be surprised to go to a protest and not see people openly carrying big guns around.
Yeah, I mean, I think we come to the point where it's going to pop off. How it's going to pop off remains to be seen. But I think the reason why it hasn't popped off is because we really don't want it to.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say, I'm going to say that on both sides. We really don't want it to. We don't want it to because it hurts. It's going to hurt our communities. It's going to hurt our society. It's going to uproot everything that we believed in. The right doesn't want it to pop off because they'll get their asses kicked. It will hurt them. And that's a distinction you need to make as we go forward with all this drama. We're afraid that things can get to a point where we will all be hurt. They are afraid that they will be hurt. That's the dynamic that you got to remember. And I thought about that as things went down this week. When they raided Mar A Lago, when for one, let's go to that, and then we got to go to Salman Rushdie. But when they raided Mar A Lago, that's the first time that's ever happened to the president. I knew that Merrick Garland was sitting on a lot of stuff while people were saying, you need to do something, you need to do something, you need to do something. But we were going after a president, and he had to make sure that all the I's are dotted and all the T's are crossed. Now, and they also knew that the right was going to respond the way it did. I mean, if you didn't know that, you hadn't been paying attention over the past 10 years or so as they were talking this trash. I think still you can't have too much faith in what our elected leaders do, and definitely not our law enforcement do. But this really had to happen for various reasons, and I'm really glad that it did. I mean, if the biggest one for our as a community, or as a society, is peace of mind. We needed to know that people like this aren't just going to be allowed. People like Trump and his sycophants aren't just allowed. I mean, we know that they are allowed, but we got tired of seeing it in real time.
No, it's good. It's good. Like, we live in a country where I'm going to speak for myself. As a man of color, I'm very cynical of the justice system in this country, especially when it comes to incredibly powerful people, right? I'm not a liberal, so I'm not one of these people that's like, any day now, Trump's going to end up behind bars. Trump will never see a jail cell. I'm very much content with that. But it's good for me to see someone being held accountable, right? Like, you can't just, like, Trump doesn't own those records. The American people own those records. And I just, the one thought I have to say, because, I went to school for international relations, is if I'm the Russians, if I'm the Chinese, and I don't have a spy in Mar A Lago right now, then I'm not doing my job as a nation state, right? Like, it only costs, from what I understand, maybe I'm wrong on this, it only costs maybe $200,000 to get in. Like, did you, like, the amount of arrogant ignorance to think that the Chinese can't get into a safe in Trump's wacky, tacky mansion, right? It's it's an amount of arrogance that is breathtaking. But I mean, that's the arrogance that we've become accustomed to. But I mean, you know me, I'm the conspiracy theory guy, and I don't want to level conspiracy theories, but I don't trust Donald Trump with his history of criminality and lies with any of that information. I'm not going to say that he was definitely going to sell that information off, but I would not be surprised if that was his motive.
There are a lot of angles from this in which it's dangerous to everybody, more or less. But one of the things, we were talking a little bit about it in pre-show, is this kind of narrative that from the left that we need to oppose this because the FBI is bad. And yes, the FBI has a history of being very, very bad, and they continue to be bad to this day in a lot of aspects. And so I think there is a real danger if we start to see the FBI empowered by this, and then that power gets abused as their history kind of predicts that they probably will. So I understand that argument, but the idea that I'm seeing lefties almost side with Trump, like we should have some sympathy for this guy. It's like they've completely forgotten that he's a right-wing demagogue who locked up immigrants and did all kinds of crazy shit. And on top of it, may have stolen nuclear secrets. All right, look, I'm not a fan of the FBI. I'm never going to root for the FBI. And if you want to defund the FBI, great, I'm on your side. But they didn't do a bad thing here by preventing a crazy person from stealing nuclear secrets, if that's what this is, or doing something against Donald Trump. We're all supposed to be against Donald Trump. It's the logical left position. And I guess maybe this is me because I've given up on overthrowing the United States government as the primary goal of my life. But, you know, look, and I'm not rooting for the FBI, but I'm also not going to cry for Donald Trump. And the left really, you're all turning into Tulsi Gabbard out there, and you got to stop. You just got to stop.
Accountability. Look, it's not even about the FBI. It's not about the FBI. It's about holding somebody accountable. And look, yeah, I'm not cheering the FBI. Right. Like I'm not going to do that. But it's just about holding Trump accountable. I mean, you can't, like, Donald Trump cannot be trusted. Like when he was president, he's butting up with the Saudis. He's butting up with the North Koreans. He's butting up with the Chinese. Right. They will all buddy up with these authoritarian states. I mean, I do not trust the guy. Like, they knew how to play him. Like, all you have to do is feed his ego and roll out the red carpet for him. And then the verbal diarrhea comes out his mouth and it's easy peasy. And that's all they knew. It's all ego with that guy. And like, they needed to get those documents away from him because he can't be trusted.
No, and I think what the important thing is to remember, I'm actually on the fence about whether or not he's going to go to prison. I'm actually not sure, because, and one of the reasons why is because I think he has gotten himself to the point where the powers that be want to make an example of him.
I can see that.
He might actually go. If not him, a whole bunch of people behind him will.
Okay, so I'm going to put an asterisk there. I absolutely see this as the state. Like, the state has had enough of this right-wing nonsense challenging it. Yes. So I do see Trumpers being held accountable, and I do see consequences for actions. But Trump himself behind bars, I don't know. I see them like defanging him, taking away his ability to run for office. And, you know, that's kind of how I see it.
That's more likely, yes.
Yeah.
But I'm not discounting the possibility that he'll spend some time in jail, because I think one of the things that's really important.
Just saying, I would love to see it.
Love to see it, and that's the point. That's what I'm getting at.
Remember consequences, though. Either way, if they take away his ability to run, if they put him in jail, are we prepared for the consequences that will come for doing that? I don't know.
Yes, we are, because whoever will come back at us in retaliation for that shit will get their behinds kicked. You know, I mean, we see the important thing to remember is that it's not so much. The reason why I say he's not going to go, he may go to prison, is not so much because he did a bad thing, but in a in a world, in a government, in a political process that relies so much on optics, they need to make at least a show to the American people, to the public, that democracy is not going to fall. When you have a populace that's concerned this much about the fall of democracy, that hurts your bottom line. And you need to change that. That means money's not going to be flowing into the United States. That hurts your bottom line. If things are destabilized right now, this is where the capitalists come in. So the capitalists aren't doing us any favors if they were to lock up Donald Trump or do any of the stuff that they're doing right now. They're doing it because they know that if things are distressed this much, and they have always been in the position to fix that, they need to really show that they're doing it. And they need to start setting people's minds at ease. That peace of mind that I was talking about from raiding Mar A Lago, that needs to happen. That needed to happen to give us all peace of mind, or at least give the society that we live in peace of mind, and get back to normal. You know, I mean, there's a lot of things over the past 20 years alone that have caused so much concern for our political process. And really, a lot of it is due to the fact that we just simply want change in it. We want third parties or fourth or fifth or sixth parties. We want ranked voting. We want our elected leaders to be accountable to us and not to their party. Let's start there. And not to their party or to some corporation. That's what Occupy. Again, I always say that's what Occupy was all about. So they need to make a good show of it and Occupy is a very good example of it. We went out and did what we did during Occupy, and it was the Democrats in those cities that routed Occupy in the end. But what did they do after? They adopted the Fight for 15. You don't have to fight. You're already in power. Just do it.
Yeah. Wow.
That was just a case of squeaky wheel got the oil.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like I see a lot of positive things happening, but we also have to recognize how much of a facade it may be. And you still have to put in work to make sure that the facade is more than just a facade. I mean, you got to work. I mean, basically, you have to put in the work. The people that we seem to keep electing aren't going to do that. So, I mean, and then that's what I would say about.
So in order to keep their profits, the capitalist class is going to sacrifice Donald Trump. You see that as a possibility?
Oh, hell yes. He's weak. Fox News is going after Donald Trump.
Yeah, that I saw.
Yeah.
See, that's what's interesting to me is you see these right-wing institutions, Fox News, certain news outlets, they're really starting to turn away from him because they're starting to see that it is toxic. So hopefully that
and they have a replacement.
Works out. Yeah. Well, they have the Ron DeSantis now. So
they got Ron DeSantis, who I also think is going to get his behind kicked for various other reasons, but we'll have to wait and see how that goes. If people are still this concerned in 2024, Ron DeSantis is going to just hurt everybody else's bottom line again, and he can't be president.
Yeah, I don't see him winning the presidency. He's too obnoxious.
I think what's going to make all the difference in the world is if the Republicans lose the midterm. And I got to speak on these terms. I'm damn political parties. I mean, I'm not really about that, but I'm just basically doing the conventional wisdom thing about it. If the Republicans do well in the midterms, it's going to be business as usual as far as business has been for the past 5 years. But if they lose the way right now it looks like they're going to lose, then they're going to do an overhaul. They're going to get rid of all their more hardcore sycophants. I mean, maybe not all of them, but they're going to start reining them in a lot more because it's hurting them. I think that's why the Democrats sacrificed Roe v. Wade.
They're playing along
it on them. I'm putting it on them. I think Roe v. Wade was what people needed to do in order to get people or to keep the Republicans from winning this year. I think they had to sacrifice Roe v. Wade in order to gin people up so that they can go. And it's starting to sound, and I mean, I know I'm sounding like some right-wing conspiracy theorist on this, but hey, look, if optics are how they live, and this is how they're going to do things. I mean, fact of the matter is that they still should have codified Roe v. Wade into law a long time ago. I think it all goes back to the whole squeaky wheel gets the oil thing. What happened in Kansas last week was really important, rather 2 weeks ago, was really important. That was the shot across the bow. That really was the shot across the bow. And I
you're
think
talking about, of course, I just want to say you're talking about a majority of Kansas voters voting to keep abortion as a right in the state of Kansas. And Kansas, of course, being a regional abortion provider in that part of the country. From what I understand, I think it was half of the abortions that took place in Kansas were actually from women or women from out of state.
Right. And it was a huge majority. I mean, they flat out cratered the pro-life side, flat out cratered, and that wasn't supposed to happen. At the very least, it was supposed to be close.
Yeah,
Kansas is a very red state.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was listening to a podcast on it, and they were saying because conservatism in Kansas manifests differently than it does in other states. And what they were saying, and interesting to me, which was, I mean, for me being a lefty, it was kind of cringe-inducing for me to hear. But the argument that a lot of the ads took in Kentucky was, you're tired of the mask mandates. You're tired of it was a very right-wing argument to argue against abortion. It was, well, the government's already in your business with the mask mandate. They're already in your business with all this other stuff. Do you want more government interference with your body? So, I mean, it was successful, but it's very much playing with fire. But, you know, that's where America is now. And I hope, I have to say, Daryle, I am in awe of your eternal optimism, man. Your optimism is breathtaking to me because it is so easy for me to lose faith. But I'll just leave it there before I keep rambling. It's very hard for me looking forward, but you radiate optimism, and it's very it's rejuvenating to do this with you.
Well, see, I appreciate that, man. But the optimism comes from the fact that we fight and we do succeed. It's just a matter of how much we lose in that fight. I mean, that's always what it is. I really just struggle with. The whole thing about Roe v. Wade, yeah, it'll be resolved. But we already have some people getting hurt by that, by what has happened. And that's the part that distresses me. We got to sacrifice some folks along the way, and we really didn't have to. That's the thing that says to me that we have to remain optimistic that we are going to beat that, because we're pissed about all of that. And that's one of the reasons, here's a segue. That's one of the reasons why I'm frustrated whenever I hear libertarians try to pass themselves off. I'm going somewhere with this.
Frustrated and libertarians in the same sentence.
Well, yeah, because for libertarians, frustrate you because you know they're just trying to exploit those concerns, and they try to pass themselves off as standing up for our rights and our freedoms, when the truth of the matter is they're just basically trying to stand up for themselves and for right-wing interests in many respects. And that's what's leading me to Bill motherfucking Maher. Because, and you know what? Let's roll that back a bit. Because much love to Salman Rushdie. Much love to Salman Rushdie. Basically, what you saw happen to him in 1989 was part of a right-wing fundamentalist figured he had to die for what he wrote.
The Satanic Verses, right? It was a Satanic Verses. Yeah.
It was Satanic Verses. And everybody rallied around Salman Rushdie on that. Well, I can't say everybody, but except for the fundamentalists. Now, I try to respect all faiths, even though there's pictures of me running around wearing a nun's habit for Halloween. I would never do that again. I still try to maintain a healthy respect for faith. So I do get uneasy when I see someone's faith being disrespected. Having said that, he was going somewhere with the satanic verses. There was something he was trying to say with the satanic verses. So I am not going to dismiss Salman Rushdie like that, But and I will defend his freedom of speech, of course. But what happened in a couple of days ago? No, it would be about almost a week ago, as he was trying to talk about free speech and the ordeal that he's went through, and that he had to deal with, things he had to deal with in 30 years. It manifested himself when somebody came rolling up on that stage and assaulted him, stabbing him. He's talking now. He's off the ventilator. It looks like he is going to survive. I think he lost an eye.
Yeah.
And the person that arrested him, what was his name? He was from here. He's from Jersey, Fairview, New Jersey. And he was 24 years old. He wasn't even born when the Satanic Verses came out.
Yeah.
But they reaffirmed the fatwa on Salman Rushdie's life just a couple of years ago in Iran.
Yeah. And the guy's name is Hadi Matar. He's 24 years old.
Now, we should point out at this point, at this juncture, we still don't know why he did what he did. We still don't know why he did what he did. But this crap is out there. So it has to be discussed. And that's why when I tweeted it out, I tweeted out something about, and it sucks that this is really my first tweet about Salman Rushdie. But the first thing that I had to tweet out, just maybe like an hour, a half hour before Bill Maher's show came on Friday, was like, shit, he's going to say something fucked up about how all Muslims are responsible for what happened to Salman Rushdie, isn't he? And I got a few trolls, either trying to justify doing that before Bill Maher did exactly that. And we knew that Bill Maher was going to do that because he has been on this relentless attack on all Muslims, not all religions, exclusively Muslims, really, in the past couple of years. Because if it wasn't exclusive, he'll be going after these so-called Christian nationalists right now, and he hasn't said shit about them yet. I mean, and he said something that's really important, and I want to try to get the quote up. He did exactly what we thought he was going to do, and he just started talking about how Islam is, still more fundamentalist religion than any of the religions in the world, and that means they take what's in the holy book seriously, and that has been dangerous for a long time. It's still dangerous. This was 1989 when he was first threatened. Okay, but you're hearing a whole bunch of people who are calling themselves Christian right now that are doing that right now, that are that you are not saying anything about right now. And that's the part that's pissing me off. And then he got into and let's face it, he's particularly pissed off because he considers Salman Rushdie a friend. All right, fine. I understand that and I appreciate that. Salman Rushdie living in most Muslim countries without getting stabbed every day is unthinkable, which is what they want to do, what the Christian nationalists want to do here. So he goes, so don't come at me with Islamophobia. Phobia means fear, right? Where Sal had a good reason to be fearful. Now let's take what else he says and put it in the context. It says, when you say phobic, it's just a way to shut off debate. You know, they use transphobic, Islamophobic, and we should have a debate about this. Sorry, but you know, these things don't go away. You're right. It don't go away. And yeah, and I am coming after you for not only Islamophobic, but transphobic, because why in the hell did that get put in there all of a sudden?
He has a show where he can have these debates every week. He has a platform where he could have these debates every week. It's like Bill Maher, when he's not dunking on the GOP, he's just absolutely cringe, right? I mean, but there's this misunderstanding. Like, fundamentalism isn't the problem in Muslim majority countries. It's poverty, right? You take poverty away, you take desperation away, you take away the need for fundamentalist ideas, right? And again, I have to say this. I feel bad for Salman Rushdie. I'm an atheist. I am very critical of religion, and I hope he gets a lot better. He did not deserve any of that. But I am less afraid of some rando Muslim guy who's obviously crazy with a knife than I am of the Christian nationalists in the United States who are actively using their power to attack women and to attack workers, to attack voting rights in this country, right? This is why we say he's Islamophobic, because you could be talking about the actual real threat to our country as opposed to your friend getting stabbed, which is unfortunate and it's wrong. Like this guy needs to go away for a long time. But like, we're talking about one instance versus an actual living threat to American democracy. And the second point I want to make on that is the new atheists are obnoxious, whether it's Richard Dawkins or Sam Harris or Bill Maher. As an atheist, we need to do better than the new atheists, because they're not coming at atheism from like this liberatory idea of how do we do away with, you know, the colonization of Christianity. It's more about how do I, as a white man, you know, be smart and better to everybody else, and how do I keep people from you know, swindling me? They see religion as a swindle. They don't really see it as like this societal issue. So for them, it's more of, I'm a smart white guy, you can't tell me what to do, so I'm going to rebel against religion, than about having like an actual grounded, you know, like communal criticism of what religion has become and how it's manifested in the 21st century. It's just like Richard Dawkins used to love the guy. Now he's cringe, right? Like, stop talking, Richard Dawkins. Talk about evolution.
Sam Harris.
I never liked Sam Harris. Sam Harris is a clown. Like, that guy's like the king of cringe. And like, what cracks me about him is he tries to tell everybody he's a neuroscientist because he has a neuroscience degree. Go talk to some actual neuroscientists who are in the field. They have no idea who the fuck Sam Harris is. He doesn't exist in that field.
But he was better than he has been in recent years. When you start talking about saying that the only people who have the people who have the best line on Muslims are the fascists, come on, it's right there.
Look, Sam Harris's mother was the producer for the Golden Girls. That's what he does. He sits on his mother's trust fund money, and the way he became famous was he would write to the Richard Dawkins of the world and the Bill Mahers of the world and the intellectual dark webbers of the world, and he'd say, "Hey, why don't you come to my mansion in whereversville, and then we'll discuss this issue. I'll record it and put it on my podcast." He uses his mother's Golden Girls money. He's a trust fund baby. He uses his mother's Golden Girls money to build a name for himself. Behind all of these people, it's always a house of cards. It's always a sham, right? Like, he's a Golden Girls trust fund baby. That's what it is.
And incidentally, he's one of Bill Maher loves the guy.
Loves the guy.
Loves the guy. And I always go back to Bill Maher because he always wants to bitch about cancel culture. I mean, granted, self-serving on my part here, but last week he was going after fat people. He was over there talking about you have to fat shame, but he's over there complaining about cancel culture all the time. I found it interesting that during the entire season of him going after cancel culture, he wasn't doing any anti-Muslim shit. But
Bill Maher was in Hollywood for 40 years. He made movies with Mr. T when Mr. T was relevant. Okay? That's how long Bill Maher has been in Hollywood. He doesn't speak for the normal person, right? He was relevant in the 80s, then he became irrelevant and relevant. He like, Bill Maher is not John Q. Public. Bill Maher is a Hollywood elitist liberal who thinks he knows how the world works, and it doesn't.
Yeah, and that's the main thing about him. Incidentally, and there's two things I want to say before we break off. First of all, it still remains a couple of things. It still remains to be seen what happens with this guy who allegedly attacked Salman Rushdie. I'm happy to see that Salman Rushdie is feeling a lot better. I hope he's back on that. Hope he's back on that circuit again. We need him. But when it comes to like Bill Maher, no, he is not just going. He's not going after all religions, at least not in the way that he has gone after Islam, the way he's gone after Muslims. As a matter of fact, and no, he's not just going after the fundamentalists, because he took shots at that 14-year-old kid, Ahmad Muhammad, when he built a clock that everybody for the bomb. I got to quote what he said, because I had to pull that up. He was like, "It's not the color of his skin. Excuse me, somebody look me right in the eye right here and tell me, over the last 30 years, if so many Muslim men," and he's young, 14, but that's not like it's ever happened before, hasn't blown up a lot of shit up around the world. And this kid deserves an apology, because he wasn't one of them. For the past 30 years, it's been one culture that's been blowing shit up over and over again. And he had nothing to do with it. So bottom line is he's pissed at this kid for something that he says he had nothing to do with.
Yeah, they built a clock for a science fair.
Yeah, we all know like, Tim McVeigh was in a mosque. I mean,
This is a guy who was against cancel culture, and defends free speech. And the other thing I want to make a point about, his little defense of free speech free speech and all that, him being the champion of it, whatever, he only champions the assholes. Yeah. Colin Kaepernick has never been
Jordan Peterson, Sam Harris.
Yes, those are the free speech advocates that he is going to stand up for. He's not standing up for Colin Kaepernick. He had to admit in passing that Colin Kaepernick is being canceled by a right a couple of weeks ago.
It's conservatives who invented cancel culture. They created it. Like, what is McCarthyism if not cancel culture?
And
right, like it cracks me up. Like these Southern churches that would it's cancel culture was created by the right to keep people of color, minorities, liberals, women away from power. Like it's everything they do is projection.
The right is full of hypocrisy.
What was it?
I'm sorry, Beth. Go ahead.
I had wanted to make this point. The right is so full of hypocrisy that we saw this with Donald Trump, the raid at Donald Trump, and how dare, you hear this just hysteria from these Marjorie Taylor Greene and all of them. How dare them break into somebody's private home? How dare them, yada, yada, yada. And ordinary people, especially people of color, are facing this every day. This was we finally have 4 cops charged for murdering Breonna Taylor when they burst into her home with totally an innocent person with a no-knock warrant. But we didn't hear these people decrying how unjust it was that the police had broken into her private residence. And I mean, the right is the party of the Republicans are the party of the elite. That's whose rights they're going to defend.
To piggyback just a little bit on what Christian was saying about, and about Bill Maher and this kind of left to right swing that happens. It's like the Jimmy Dore grip, right? Where you're kind of taking a progressive audience and feeding them right wing nonsense. When he says dumb shit like that, or when anybody attacks Muslims, the majority of terrorism being conducted in this country is being conducted by white nationalists, white supremacists, Nazi types, white people.
They're the ones infiltrating police departments, justice departments,
and mass killing. It's just stop. So Bill Maher really needs to just be checked on that. And why he's not checked on that is an indictment of HBO and all its executives and all its producers and all its fucking cameramen and everybody that serves them lunch, because without poisoning them, because they are spouting out this racist nonsense. And I don't care at what level you're helping Bill Maher do it. If you're not spitting on him and calling him a fucking pig every day, you're not doing your job as a decent human being.
And incidentally, it should be pointed out that when I think his name is Brendan Tarrant, the Christchurch shooter who killed I forgot, maybe 6 Muslims in a mosque. Bill Maher went on his show. I think it was that evening, and started or sometime during that week. He went on a show and started blaming it on incels. He said he just started talking about incels. Never mind the fact that this dude's manifesto had already come out, and he made it clear that he was at that mosque to kill Muslims. And he had a girlfriend. So now we have Bill Maher trying to cover up the fact that you had this anti-Muslim terrorist going to a mosque to kill Muslims. Excuse me. So my question is, why did you do that, Bill?
Yeah.
Why couldn't you be honest with that, Bill? I mean, you could have just as easily as said, this is not how we're going to deal with Muslim fundamentalism. You'll still be full of shit, but you wouldn't be this much full of shit. When you covered that up, when you tried to avoid talking about why he was killed, and you talk now about how we shouldn't combat you about Islamophobia. No. And no, you shouldn't have a fear of Islam. You have a fear of fundamentalists like the Christians that you aren't talking about right now. Because there's a whole bunch of Muslims out there that decried what happened to Salman Rushdie. They have his back. Honestly, have his back better than you, Bill. So, we ran a little long. Was there anything else we needed to talk about?
I think that's good. I do want to brag really quick and say, not only am I going to see Santana and Earth, Wind, and Fire tonight at PNC, but I also got to see Rage Against the Machine twice this past week. So that's me bragging.
On your Facebook, I was a little jealous.
Yeah. We got those first tickets years ago. So my wife was like, you want to go? You go. I said, yeah, I'm going to go. And I was up in the nosebleeds and I didn't care. It was awesome both times.
I didn't even know they was coming into town. I didn't even know they was on tour until everybody started showing them. But I'm happy that I got a chance to see them for a Mumia Abu-Jamal fundraiser at Brentburn Arena. They held a fundraiser for Mumia Abu-Jamal at Brentburn Arena. Mumia Abu-Jamal, for those who don't know, is a journalist who, as far as I'm concerned, was unjustly incarcerated and convicted for the murder of a police officer in Philadelphia. It might be something we need to talk about.
I think we should. I mean, the bombing, like the bombing of that town, that should talk about the MOVE bombing and the MOVE culture.
I think I'll see if I can get some folks, see if we can get Pam Africa on the show. Maybe she can have her give us her take, because I think it's important. He was on death row, which is what a lot of people tend to forget now. And he's still in jail for this crime, even though a lot of people do not believe that he even committed it. Long story right now, but there was it was Rage Against the Machine. Oh no! Let me give you the lineup.
Wait, wasn't it like Beastie Boys and Wu-Tang?
No, not Beastie Boys and Wu-Tang. Black Star, Mos Def and Talib Kweli. It was also Bad Religion. Bad Religion was on that bill. Beastie Boys and Rage. And then for the encore, when they did Killing in the Name of, Chuck D came up on stage with them.
Nice.
Oh, this was just so much fun. I had a good time with that. But I'm glad I saw also Zach De La Rocha. He had spoke at a Mumia rally years ago. I got it on video somewhere in this.
Daryl, we got to go through your archives, man.
Yes, we do.
We got a second show of just Daryl's archives.
I swear I can only imagine what kind of stuff I have. Daryle and Jenkins archives will be funny today. 2D. Some of the Amadou Diallo rallies. See, the problem is that I have videotapes that break now, so I got to be careful. I don't need 30 years of video just lost to the ages.
You got to get that stuff converted, my man.
I was trying to get them converted, and that's how I learned the hard way what was going on. But I'll get it done, even if I have to raise money. As a matter of fact, I don't want to raise money. I just want grant money coming in so I can fix everything. I mean, Marina, we had just mentioned her earlier. We're trying to get a video server going in. So we have, I mean, it's not going to be something that's online. It's just going to be something that we have. So we can just, if we need a video, we go to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So. All right, y'all. We did run a little long, but I want to, we had a good time.
Money. Give us money.
Yes.
Give us money. We need money and money. Just money.
We really need some.
Please donate.
Yeah, go to onepeoplesproject.com, IDAVOX.com, and click to donate and give us a time.
More to the point, if you want to be sponsored, if you want to advertise on this program, if you want to sponsor, where should I hit them up, Brian?
You can email me at info@njrevolutionradio.com or email Daryle, dlj@onepeoplesproject.com, and say you want to sponsor some programming, and we'll talk about it. We're cheap, man. Like, you get a couple bucks. If you got something you want to sell, you're a comrade running your own little Etsy business or whatever. We've had coffee shops. We've had bookstores help us out in the past. So, if you're out there and you want to sponsor some antiques for work, give us a ring and we'll make it happen.
I just realized that your initials were BDP. BDP. Somewhere KRS One is smiling.
Who is BDP that you know? BDP
and now somewhere KRS One's head is exploding. Boogie Down Productions.
Boogie Down Productions.
Oh my goodness.
I'll take
Metalhead.
I got a Soundgarden shirt on, man. Boogie Down. I don't know what's.
Oh my good. Oh my. I am. We're going to end this show with a BDP video. No. Hold on. Okay. All right. So we're going to bounce out of here, and I want to leave y'all with this. Actually, I should. No, I'm going to leave y'all with this. This was acquired in Charlottesville. This belonged to the League of the South, one of the groups that partnered up with Matthew Heinbach. I was actually wrestling with one of the guys from League of the South when I got pepper sprayed by TWP in Charlottesville. And but if you look at some of the footage, you'll see this shield. They don't have this one anymore. And it's going back. I was going to have it in the background, but it doesn't fit because it has a handle on the back and shit. So it's not leaning properly. It's just falling. And
that's okay. It belongs on the floor anyway.
It's on the floor now. But I'm not smashing it up because now it's history.
Yeah.
Now it's a historical artifact.
It's a trophy.
So hold on. Let the donkey go first. So, all right, y'all, let's get out of here.
Take care, everybody.
Take care, everyone. We will see you. We're going to see him in 2 weeks. Yeah, we are going to see him in 2 weeks because we want to talk. We want to see if we can get some guests on the show. So, while we have a frozen Brian, at least I'm looking at a frozen Brian. I want to say peace, Brian. Peace, Christian. Peace, Beth. Peace, Daryle.
Peace, Daryle.
To y'all.
Bye, Beth. Bye, Brian.
And to everybody watching, I say, peace.